Hi guys, this is Nomi and I'm introducing another team that managed to qualify for Blizzcon. This time we are talking about Team Expert, who reached the third seed in Europe. They didn't seal away the direct qualification from Fnatic and Dignitas, but they won the playoffs quite handily. And yeah, in the last couple of weeks they looked extremely strong, so they should have a decent shot at Blizzcon, I think. So they might be able to get out of groups, and they also might actually have a tiny chance to win the tournament um, in the HGC Europe. They managed to beat Dignitas a couple of times, and also they even won a tournament against Team Fnatic last season when they won the King of the Storm tournament against them in the finals. So on a great day, they can beat the best teams in the world. Although the main story for Team Expert was for a long time that they tried to break into the top three. Team Liquid, Fnatic, and Dignitas looked stronger for a long time, but now they qualified for the Western Clash over Dignitas and then won against Team Liquid even in the loser finals, in the consolation finals, before they lost in the finals against Fnatic. So yeah, I think we can say that Team Expert is one of the top teams in Europe now, and that's also great, obviously, for the German community, because it's a German team, obviously, German management, and also it's the only German player in the BlizzCon tournament. Nick is playing the intercession role for Team Expert, and the main part for me that impresses me about Nick is always that he manages to survive everything. Obviously, he also did quite a lot of damage, but yeah, the main story for me about him is always that he never dies, basically. And that's also a compliment to the rest of the team, obviously. I feel like Team Expert just has great team synergy. They play very well together, and that's also good for Kirsten, I think. The support player from Norway was discussed as a weak link for a little while. Maybe that was a bit unfair as well. I'm not sure, but the double support meta seems to suit him very well, because I think that when he's able to do some aggressive moves as a support player, when he is able to use Emerald Wind instead of some defensive cooldowns, then he truly shines. So yeah, I think that Curson is also a great support player. Then Athero obviously replaced Blade, and on the media assassin position, I think he's just a little bit stronger, although the win against Fnatic in the King of the Storm tournament was still with Blade. But yeah, towards the second season of the HGC, Blade was replaced by Athero, and since then they really looked a little bit stronger, at least. And then the main part that's always discussed about Team Expert is obviously that they have edges in the draft, and that's mostly because ADRD comes up with some great ideas. He's from Poland, and he was always called the mad scientist, but I feel like maybe he sometimes gets even a bit too much praise, because in-game, obviously, you also have to use those great drafts, and Bad Benny is a great tank player for one, but he's also the shot caller in-game. He's from Sweden, and I think that he's actually very smart as well, because the great team play that I talked about, and yeah, the utilization of the great draft, that might come to his shot calling as well. So overall, obviously, it's a very strong team, so all the parts are quite strong as well. But yeah, for me, the main story is that they play extremely well together, and that might come from the great shot calling, and also oftentimes they have an edge because they have very good drafting. But let's hear what Korknix had to say towards the second phase of the HGC season about them.
I think Team Expert is a really good team, and I believe that they will qualify as the third team to BlizzCon. So whenever we face any other top 3 team in the region, it's pretty much all about whoever comes in the most prepared and actually has the momentum that day. You know, if we have a bad day, they can win us 3-0. If we have a good day, we'll probably win them 3-0. So it's like, we just gotta make sure we're well prepped and be careful for Cheese, because they tend to invent stuff that might be spooky.
Okay, so Quarknix is a bit afraid that there might be some spooky stuff coming from Team Expert, and obviously that's the main story that everybody talks about all the time, that they come up with some stuff that nobody expected. And I feel like right now the main part for Team Expert is that the double support meta really fits all their players. Nick always survives. Curson likes to do some aggressive moves as well. And ADRD always shined on the Medivh, which is in a way a second support already. And they just have great team play and manage to survive as a team always. So I feel like the meta really suits them quite well, but they also think it a bit further than the other teams oftentimes. So at the end of the HGC season, they managed to beat Team Liquid, and Blumby talked about it on his stream a little while afterwards, that they were a bit surprised by the Uther Lucio composition, for example. And obviously, Uther Lucio is just a normal part of the double support meta in a way, but Lucio really fell off and nobody used him for quite a long time. Obviously, now we see him a lot again in Hero League and also in the pro games as well, because it makes a lot of sense that you are able to use the strength of Uther, the burst heal and stuff like that to complement the Lucio, who obviously has great sustain heal and sometimes is not able to use his ultimate because he gets stunned. So there's obviously some synergies there, and also the other way around. Uther looked like the strongest healer for quite a while, but obviously the mass sustained damage, the poison damage, is always a big problem for him. So if you just add Lucio to that, then obviously that's not a problem anymore. So that's what they used in the regular season. But then in the playoffs against Wish Esports, we saw something even more impressive to me, at least, when they played against Wish Esports in the last game of the finals of the playoffs. They used Stukov by ADRD, and in a double support composition, Stukov was suddenly not standing in the back line just healing everybody, and if the opponent got too close, using Flaming Swipe to get more room for his team, but instead he was moving quite close all the time, using the slow of Stukov and the silence to basically render the Johanna of Mopsio completely useless, because the Johanna was not able to use the Unstoppable to get out of the slow, because she was also standing in the silence. So that's just one example of really great ideas that Team Expert come up with, and yeah, obviously that worked extremely well in the playoff finals. And yeah, we can just look the last part of that series.
Vala isn't there yet. Vala is not there yet. They need to be a bit careful, and that gives time for Wish to poke the boss down, and they already have nearly a half HP as it finally arrives at the core. Isolation has been used. Cleanse is out. They're going in. Zarmany is already low. Could pop the essence. The drag is completely missing. Poik is being attacked. Here comes the sound barriers. They are moving in, but Greyman is in trouble. Gets stunned out and immediately getting taken down. Greyman is dead. The core lost its shield already, as we're seeing Team Wish losing hero after hero.
Shad is still up here. He's trying his best here. A power slide into a tour bus, catching two members on the side. Team Expert continues to shell down the core. It drops down to 20. It drops down to 10, and that's it. They're going to Blizzcon.
The tour bus to Blizzcon as Team Expert takes game number 3 and wins the best of 5 with a 3-1 score against.
So the tour bus to BlizzCon for Team Expert. They won against Team Wish quite handily in the end, but Team Wish looked very strong in the players as well. But yeah, in the end, I think that a couple extra ideas that Team Expert came up with really helped them to win those playoffs. But yeah, also the great team play. I think that you can really, in that small clip, see both of that. Obviously, the Stukov build with the slow and the root on the silence, that's not what we see most of the time. But they are just able to pull it off because Bad Benny is really peeling very well for his teammates. Nick basically doesn't really need help because he's always positioning so well. And in general, one has just to compliment Team Expert. They look very strong, especially look very strong at the end of the season. And so that should mean that they can also do quite well at the BlizzCon. And in the group, it's actually hard to predict how well they can do, because L5 should be a very strong opponent, obviously. Yeah, and it might actually be not a great idea for Team Expert to bootcamp at Korea, because L5 might be able to steal a few ideas. I was actually very surprised to hear that Team Expert went to Korea to bootcamp there, because I feel like the European meta seems to be the strongest. So why would you show that to the Koreans? But ADRD answered that in an AMA when he said that the other strong European teams are bootcamping in Korea, and obviously there's also the Korean teams to bootcamp with. So if you want some practice right now, you basically have to go to Korea, because the other European teams are obviously taking a break for BlizzCon, so they really didn't really have a chance, another choice, and yeah, I think they should be experienced enough to be able to hide a few strategies from L5 as well. So they might have a shot against L5, although I would say L5 and Team Expert are the two strongest teams, and L5 might be a little bit stronger. We will see. Soul Torturers are actually very experienced as well, so it won't be easy to beat them, because Team Expert might be a bit more nervous, and for SPT it obviously comes to the visa issues. If they can show with the full lineup, they are extremely strong as well. If they play with the stand-in, then it really depends on how well they can deal with the stand-in. But in general, I think that Team Expert should be stronger than both of those teams, and they might actually even have a shot against A5. So yeah, the group phase looks quite doable for Team Expert, and the German community obviously is rooting for them as well. So we will see what they can do.